UX happens regardless. You can have a UX designer, a UI designer, a product designer on a project, you name it. It doesn't really matter. If you launch something, service or product, UX is gonna happen regardless, but how good it is, it's gonna come down to the expertise and the methods people choose to use. Take a look at this. On one hand, on the left, you have a product designer job ads. On the right hand side, you have UX designer job ads. Now try finding 10 differences. And I'm totally joking here because there's a lot more common between the two roles than you would expect. And the market is quite confused. The same skill sets are used in one or the other job ads. And it's almost like if you're one, you could probably apply to both because recruiters don't know any better. But hiring managers, especially in mature organizations and mature design teams, definitely gonna know what they're after. Because I received this question back in the day from one of the viewers, Sean, and he was asking, so what's really the difference between UX designer, product designer, interaction designer? The easiest one to answer was interaction designer because it's a very specific specialty, in UX end-to-end process. You could kind of have, let's say, service designers or user researchers or interaction designers or even UX prototypers, which is a new thing what I just found out, but you kind of can specialize in one aspect or the other. However, UX designer, which is kind of like a generalist, do it all, and product designer have been collated together, and now the actual people who get into UX get confused. But if we talk about product designers, which is kind of like, in some designers' minds, it's an evolution almost. Like you had like UI UX designers, you have UX designers, product designers. And in reality, it's not the case because by definition, a product designer is someone who's designing products, right? It's in the name. Someone from UX realm just took and bastardized the title from the industrial design, because if you look for product designer roles, you're going to find 3D designers, industrial designers, actual products, which is, physical, non-digital. But ultimately, to me, a product designer has to couple with a product manager. They're all looking to launch something out there or optimize what's there in terms of product, in terms of product journeys, features. It's all about that. And it's kind of like applying the typical UX process, researching some, testing a lot, things of that nature, but doing it much more lean. That's ultimately the bottom line. And if we would jump to the double diamond, let's say, which is probably the easiest to explain the UX process or how do you design experiences, the product design dabbles in that first diamond area and then kind of heavily involves itself in the ideation, the prototyping, the development and delivery, and then user testing. It's almost like in that second part of a diamond of a process. Meanwhile, UX is really, you cannot have UX design without research. That's the bottom line. If you're a true hardcore UX designer, you care about capturing who the users are and understanding them very deep so that the proposed solutions could end up being a printout or maybe a service, or maybe a digital solution which is usable, and then you could do like product design as well if you wish. But you are very open to any type of solution. You're there to improve user experiences, whatever they are. And so in terms of a double diamond, UX would really cover end to end, and it would be much more strategic, much more holistic approach to me. However, the market is so skewed that the recruiters are again very confused, and hiring managers are also very confused, especially if you come from backgrounds which are super lean and not really cognizant of what UX is really about, or they don't know how deep it has to be, especially if it's user research driven. And so a lot of that research is now being kind of bastardized and bypassed. And so now you end up with a lot of product designer roles which you read, and there's really just outlining the UI design and what UI designer would do, but with just a touch of UX, putting some journeys here and there, maybe a persona or two, user testing from the research side, and that's about it. It doesn't mention, the actual discovery in the beginning or deeply understanding the users with like quantitative and qualitative research. And in the end, UX happens regardless. You can have a UX designer, a UI designer, a product designer on a project, interaction designer, service, you name it. It doesn't really matter who you have on a project. If you launch something, service or product, UX is gonna happen regardless, but how good it is, it's gonna come down to the expertise and the methods people choose to use. And to me, UX has to be about user research first and foremost, because you must be advocate of the user needs and challenges and then come up with opportunities in whatever terms you can think of. You shouldn't constrain yourself just with UI or the product. It could be anything else holistically. And as a designer, if you want to improve, you should strive to do so as well. Anyhow, this is just a few thoughts on that. What do you think about it? Leave a comment down below, subscribe to this channel, give a like, and on that note, I'll see you next time.